Today's video is 6 things that I did to start a multi-million-dollar blog. My name is Sophia and I have the blog by Sophia Lee. I started it 6 years ago. I was a sophomore in college, and since then I've turned it into a 7-figure business along with multiple businesses starting from the blog. And I have these 6 things that I swear by that help me grow my blog, stay focused, and really turn it into something in 6 years, which is not long at all. So let's get into the video. The first thing I did, I swear by, is become a goal setter. I have had goals in place since day one of starting my blog. Actually, before I even started my blog, and this was crucial for me to always have something to work towards. I'm a really goal-oriented person in general, and if I was just kind of floating in the air being like, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna do that, like there's no way I would have been able to grow this business as fast as I have. And I always would do short-term goals, and then I would also do long-term goals, and I would make it like a session. Like I would go to a coffee shop, I would get a drink, I would sit down with my notepad, and I would go and write out like, this is my short-term goals, my long-term goals, even down to like, this is my 1-month goal, this is my 6-month goal, and this is my 1-year goal. And this legitimately changed my business. And again, I keep saying it, but really helped me grow so much faster because I knew what I was constantly working towards. So I have multiple videos going over what those goals are and were, which you can see in the description of this video. But I think it's really important that you put an emphasis on creating those goals so that you know what you are working towards and you're not just floating in midair being like, I'm gonna do this. It's really important to have those, like, this happens and then this is gonna happen and then this is gonna happen, and if you believe it, it will actually happen. Another thing along the same lines of being goal-oriented was creating content calendars. And honestly, that's very similar to like goal planning for me, is just planning it out in general. And by sitting down, I would actually handle creating my content calendars really similar to how I would do my goals. Is I would go to the coffee shop. I am the type of person that needs printed out calendars on paper. So I would have my printed out calendars and I would just spend like a solid 6 to 8 hours legitimately just going through the next 6 months of content planning. And that way there was never ever guessing on what I was going to post on my blog. And it also really helped me be prepared, knowing like, okay, for this blog post to rank, I have to post it this many months before it's popular or whatever it is. So it just allowed me to really think it through, prepare for it, and then execute on it, which was a huge thing on just having like really solid blog posts that people were interested in reading. The next thing that I did was I read a lot of books and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and that is something that I continue to do today. Is I am a huge self-help book reader and podcast listener, and it gave me the motivation to just think like, this blog isn't just a little blog, like this is a whole business, which is something that I did from the very beginning. I always treated the blog like a business. I never just treated it like a blog. And I always knew that I was going to lead to other businesses. And I think the reason that I knew those things is because I was listening to all of these really successful business leaders who were really saying something super similar, which gave me a lot of motivation. I also was able to learn just a lot of tips from them on time management, being a leader, things that they have done and think that is important to them, or things that they wish they could go back and change. And I always left finishing one of those books or one of those podcasts feeling a lot more inspired and confident in what I was doing. And like, let's be honest too, starting a blog is extremely lonely. Like, there is not a lot of people surrounding you who are probably also starting blogs. And if they are, they probably don't take it as seriously as you do. And so to listen to those things, it kind of makes you feel a lot less lonely. So 2 of my favorites are Atomic Habits. Like, definitely read this one. It is so good. And then also the 4-Hour Workweek. I will say I enjoyed reading Atomic Habits more, but the 4-Hour Workweek was the one that inspired me to like get my first set of employees, which helped me grow the blog so much faster. I'm getting my phone so I can tell you my favorite podcasts. Hold on. Okay, here are some of my favorite podcasts. I love the Ed Milet show. I think he just is very good. I go in phases where I'm like, is he too much for me? Is he not too much for me? But right now, and previously I've been in a phase where I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so good. If you want something a little more lighthearted, him and her podcast is super good. Love the Alex Hormozy podcast. He is another one that just, you're like, oh my God, I needed to hear that. Oh, How I Built This, like, best podcast ever. That's probably my actual favorite podcast that I've ever listened to. I think that like Second Life I really enjoy as well. Gary Vee, I feel like I need to give him a shout out because like I don't necessarily enjoy listening to his podcasts because I get like scared because he's so intense, but I leave almost every single one of them wanting to take action on something. So I very much appreciate that. Really like the Tim Ferriss show and the Tony Robbins podcast as well. So those are a few of my favorite books and podcasts that I highly recommend you listen to. The third tip I have for you is reinvest your money into your business. This is something that I still do today, is I am reinvesting so much money into the business. Actually, the only thing I pay myself is what my accountant tells me I have to pay myself in order to not get audited. And I keep pouring money into the business because I truly believe that reinvesting in the business will help it grow even larger and bigger and will make it a lifelong career for me. And I had this mindset from the very beginning. So literally like the first $100 that I made, I reinvested it and bought a course. And that course, I mean, I'm a huge course taker, you know, but that course was something that I was trying to learn, and it was able to teach me something much, much faster by someone who was extremely successful in it versus me trying to go learn it for 6 months. I was able to learn her techniques in 2 weeks and save that 6-month time period. So that is something that I highly recommend doing, is reinvest your money. There's also different programs that you can buy, like Thrive Architect and Lead Pages and an email subscription. All of those will move your bottom line. It seems like not like you probably want to go to Target and go spend that money or something. At least I kind of do. But you have to have the mindset on this is like a long-term thing. And by reinvesting that money instead of going and spending on Target on something that you won't even remember, will create a life for you and a business for you with your blog, with something that you couldn't even like imagine. So definitely reinvest your money and think about when you're reinvesting your money, like, is this going to make me more money in the future? And that is how I made the decision on all of the things that I've reinvested money into from the blog. I already touched on this a little bit, but I want to just touch on this more, is the emphasis on your long-term business planning. So this is something I say in a lot of videos. Your blog can lead you to so many different types of businesses. One example I always give is if you want your end goal to be to have a dog food line, start a blog about dogs, because then you can gain a lot of traction, you can get a loyal following, you can prove to Google, but also your followers that you are an expert on dogs. And then when you come out with a dog line, you already have a loyal following. It makes complete sense because you've proven that you're an expert. Google will rank your things a lot faster because it knows that you talk about something like this. And you can scale up a dog food company amazingly because of all of the things that you've set in stone. So for me, I knew that my end goal was to have an interior design firm. And I had multiple businesses that came out of the blog that I wasn't expecting, but the one constant from day one was that I wanted to own a design firm. So when I started my blog and I was thinking about different niches that I could get into, I knew that end goal, and I was like, okay, my end goal is to have a design firm. What can I do right now as a 19-year-old in a college that can get me to that end goal? And so I wasn't at a place where I knew a lot about homes and interior design, but I was at a place where I knew about dorm decor. And I knew if you cared about dorm decor, you would eventually care about your apartment decor, and then you would care about your home, which would get me to that end goal of having a design firm. So that is super important to think about for you. Like, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? I do not recommend just planning on blogging for the rest of your life. I mean, you probably could, but there's so many opportunities that can come from blogging that I feel like it's almost a shame to just have your blog be your goal. Like, what do you want to gain from starting a blog? So definitely put priority on those long-term blogging goals. My camera died, hence the change in camera quality. So I wanted to keep this going because I feel like I'm on a roll. When you feel comfortable enough in investing in a career coach or / business coach, it can literally change your business. So I hired a business coach last summer, and it was game changing. Like, she helped me in so many ways that I can't even describe it. So a few of the things that she did for me was we were starting to have a team, and there were a lot of like leadership things that I just didn't know, as far as like annual reviews and bonuses and what to pay, and you know, like how to make your team feel good, just things along the lines of being a leader and having a team under you. She helped me with that. She also helped me just get more of like the behind the scenes business things. Like, she didn't really help me with blogging side of things because she just doesn't know the blogging side of things, but she knew business, and she is a very successful leader and businesswoman, and so she was able to give me those techniques. KPIs were something that I never even heard of, and now we think about KPIs in so many of the things that we do. Like, there's just so much that I went into being like, oh, this might be a waste of my money and my time, and it turned out to be huge. Like, even Sarah, who is my right arm in the business, she was like, Sophia, I probably would have quit if you didn't do coaching, because it just changed everything so much. So highly recommend at least considering that if you are in a place where you feel like that would be helpful for you. So those were my 6 things that I did to start a 7-figure blog. A lot of those were more from like a personality, work, efficient, planning perspective. But if you want like actual tangible things that I can do another video like that. So if you have any other videos too, put them in the description or put them in the comments, because we are always pulling from the comments for our video ideas. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Make sure to check out my blogging courses, Perfecting Blogging, Perfecting Pinterest, and Perfecting Email. These courses go over exactly what I do and did in my blog to create this 7-figure business. I mean, I get like so detailed and go over every single thing. Here are some reviews from the courses. Definitely make sure to check it out. But I will see you at next week's blogging video.